Hey everyone, I'm Joey Hollywood, and this is the third time I have tried to make this video. The first time there was too much noise, the second time I rambled for 20 minutes, and I was editing it, and I was like, this sucks. So it's the third time, but even though it's still unscripted, but this time I got notes, so I don't get too off track. Before I go on about my thoughts on Star Trek Discovery, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Star Trek in general, what it means to me. I know I parodied this in my movie review by username parody, but I feel like the reason why so many people use that formula is because it's one that works and allows viewers to get into the content creator's head. I think it's kind of done to a point that it's almost humorous and feels hollow. But I just want you guys to know where I'm coming from, because I don't actually talk about Star Trek enough on my channel. I would say Star Trek is my favorite franchise of all time, television and whatnot. I think Star Trek represents some of the greatest moments in television history. It's a franchise that means a lot to me. Let me put it this way. I remember a time before I watched Star Wars. I remember a time before I watched Indiana Jones. I remember a time before Evil Dead. I don't remember anything past anything before Star Trek. Star Trek has been with me for as long as I can remember. I remember being 4 years old and crying at Star Trek Insurrection in theaters because I love Star Trek so much. I was like, let's go see the new Star Trek movie, and crying because it was about robot zombies and it was terrifying. And I think I've seen every single Star Trek movie up till Star Trek Beyond in theaters. I used to have an encyclopedic knowledge on Star Trek, and I'm glad I don't anymore. Well, I'm both glad and sad that I don't have that anymore. You could tell me a vague moment in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and I could go, oh, that was this episode. I can't do that no more because I made room for more important things, but I still love Star Trek. It is still one of my favorite things, and even though I talk about Mystery Science Theater a lot on this channel, I wholeheartedly love Star Trek more than Mystery Science Theater. Mystery Science Theater is a fun show, but Star Trek it's something that helped to make me who I am today. I feel like I'm a little bit more forgiving than most Star Trek fans. I know a lot of my friends are be like, "What, you complain about the J.J. Abrams movies all the time." Yeah, I do. But out of all my friends who like Star Trek, I think it's pretty safe to say I'm the most forgiving of the Next Generation movies. I don't think they're great, but I enjoy them from time to time. Even Nemesis, which is, in my opinion, the worst of the four. Going into the J.J. Abrams movies, I don't particularly like them. I remember when the first one came out, I liked it at first because I thought what they were doing was they were going to reintroduce Star Trek to a new generation by making a big dumb action movie, and the sequel was going to be the intellectual Star Trek I know and love. And Into Darkness came out, which was terrible, and I found out that that wasn't true. I've not seen Star Trek Beyond yet, but I hear it's superior to the other two. I was too poor when it came out, and Into Darkness left such a bad taste in my mouth I haven't sought it out just yet. But one thing I do respect about those J.J. Abrams movies is they brought a new wave of fans to Star Trek. They liked those big dumb action movies, and they sought out the Star Trek I hold very near and dear. And I was bitter at first because I hated those. I hated Into Darkness, which eventually carried over to 2009. So I was bitter for a while, but I feel like I've gotten over it and a little bit more accepting. Just don't ask me to watch Into Darkness. I hope you can give like a little bit of understanding of what is going on in my head while I talk about Star Trek Discovery now. I am cautiously optimistic about Star Trek Discovery. I liked a lot of things in the trailer, and I didn't like a lot of things in the trailer. One thing I really liked was the lack of violence in the trailer. Most of the dramatic moments in the trailer were all verbal, or it was communication. It was tension built on situations, and I like that it wasn't just violence for the entire trailer like the J.J. Abrams movies. I was like, it gave me hope that this was going to be about telling stories and characters, the thing that brought me to Star Trek. Another thing I like about this is we're going to have a female captain and a female first officer, and it's going to be from the perspective of the first officer. And I like this because Star Trek, for the most part, we have a lot of male captains, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I like that dynamic. We've never seen that before. The closest thing we've gotten to that was Janeway and her first, essentially her first officer, which was a guy, or the Cage pilot, or Captain Pike's first officer was a girl. So I think this is kind of like, it's not so much breaking new ground, but it's a new dynamic that I'm looking forward to seeing in Star Trek. I think it's something that it could work. Another thing I really like, I like that. I really like the idea that this is all going to be serialized with an overstretching story arc. I like that. I feel like Star Trek should have done that a long time ago. They kind of did that with Enterprise and Deep Space Nine, and to a lesser degree Next Generation, but not in the scale that they're doing it in this. We're going to have a 15-episode story arc, and I love that. I think that's a new direction for Star Trek. Here's the thing. At first I was kind of disappointed when I heard that the new show was going to be taking the exploration route again, because like almost every single Star Trek show is about exploration, and I feel like they've done that enough. I feel like you can only tell so many stories like that, and I think that's why I like Deep Space Nine. I appreciate it so much more as an adult, because it just told a different dynamic of stories, and I really liked that. And I was hoping they were going to do something more. A while back there was rumors that there was going to be a show called Star Trek Federation, which was going to be about how the Federation, the little like watchtower thing that floats around Earth, how the characters in that react when Kirk and Picard are doing dumb crap out in the reaches of space, and how it affects Earth. I thought that was going to be amazing. That's an amazing concept, and I wish they went through with it. But we're doing the exploration route again, and I can see why it's a good starting off point when rebooting this. Let me talk a little bit about the things I don't like about the trailer, and I'm not going to harp too much on this because this is subject to change, and we're given so little to go off of that. And you know what I mean. I don't like how visually dependent everything is on the J.J. Abrams movies, but that's just because that's just my dislike of them. Could do with a lot less lens flares. From what I understand, and this might not be true, but from what I understand, this is supposed to be set in the Prime universe with a J.J. Abrams-esque paint job on everything. Which is fine. If that's true, that's fine. I see where they're coming from. You set it in the Prime universe because the hardcore fans want that. But you also got this new wave of fans that are more familiar with the J.J. Abrams stuff, so you have the best of both worlds. I get it. That's if these rumors I've heard are true. I love the way the spaceship looks. I love the way the Discovery looks. It's reminiscent of Star Trek Titan, Star Trek Planet of Titan, the Enterprise design for that unmade movie. I thought it was a brilliant homage to that, and I love the design of that ship. A lot of Star Trek fans hate it for some reason. I don't know why. But the internal, the bridge of the ship, everything inside the ship just looks so bland. It doesn't look quite as bland as the J.J. Abrams ship, where everything's just white. Like, how would you describe the inside of the Enterprise in the J.J. Abrams movies? Well, everything's white. It's like they're in a Mac store. It's got a lot more character to it than that, but not. It's just. There's just nothing visually striking about it, and I'm not saying the whole ship has to be red like in TOS, but I just wish it had a little bit more character to it. But hey, it's just a trailer. We didn't see that much of it. Maybe there's more to the ship than what we saw. I hate the uniforms. I absolutely despise the uniforms. There's nothing about them that says Star Trek to me. Honestly, they look like Vault Boys from Fallout. It's just a little thing. The badges, instead of having red, blue, and gold, they're all blue now, and the badges are now gold, silver, and bronze, which I don't like. I like having the visually striking uniforms. What are you going to do? It doesn't matter if I don't like the way everything looks, as long as the stories are good. I don't like the way the Klingons look. However, I'm going to let me counter my own argument here, or my own position here. Klingons have changed drastically throughout Star Trek. Before, they were just white guys painted brown. Then they became, in Star Trek the motion picture, they had that weird like nose thing that went to the back of their head, and then they had the bumpy foreheads, to whatever was going on in the J.J. Abrams movies. And this feels like a blend of the J.J. Abrams Klingons and the Next Generation Klingons. I also hear that they're from the future, so even though I don't like the way they look, what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if I don't like the way they look, as long as they're good. And plus, someone actually painted on a beard and mustache on one of, long hair and a beard on the bald Klingon, and he looked kind of just like a regular old Klingon. So maybe I'm just complaining over nothing. I don't like, they didn't show many aliens in the trailer. They showed the Klingons, they showed this weird like snail thing, and then they showed Doug Jones's character, which I'm really happy Doug Jones is in the show. But I don't like the way the aliens look. Purely, actually, all my criticisms of the show, or the things I don't like, are just purely on an aesthetic level. I don't like the way the show looks. I like a lot of things about this show, I just kind of don't like the look of it. So, as long as the show is good, I think I'm going to be fine at least. Let me talk a little bit about CBS All Access. I think is, out of everything that is going on, whatever you think is wrong with this new Star Trek or right with this new Star Trek, I think we can all agree that CBS All Access is a mistake. This is going to be their headliner for their new video platform. This is going to be their competition for HBO Go and Netflix. Here's the thing. No one cares about CBS. No one is going to be like, yeah, I got to get that CBS app. I think this is financial suicide on CBS's part. It's gonna shoot this new show in the foot. And I'm not even, here's the thing. I think this is going to encourage piracy, because no one's going to want to buy, to do another rolling monthly subscription to another video platform. I think it's a mistake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the moment the new Star Trek show comes out, I'm going to get my free trial opening night. And once that wears out, I'm going to pay for it until the show is over, and then I am removing my subscription to CBS Go. Another thing, I've seen a very small vocal minority complain that there is only one white male character in the trailer. First of all, this is just a trailer. There might be more. You guys are idiots. Also, who gives a crap if there's only one white character in the show? Star Trek has always been about diversity. This is not some liberal propaganda. Star Trek is one of the founding elements of Star Trek is diversity. Gene Roddenberry said it was the Enterprise was a metaphor for Earth. There's all kinds of people with different backgrounds and different everything, but they all have one thing in common: they are human. And I mean, like you go back to the other shows that have more white characters in them. Just because they're white doesn't mean that they're all the same. They are all diverse. You have, like in the original series, you had all the white characters. You got an American. You got an alien. You got a Russian, and you got a Scotsman. There's diversity there, and this is no different. It's a show about diversity. I don't think these are Star Trek fans that are saying these things, because if they were, they're idiots. But I want to stress that this is a very small vocal minority. But yet, I've seen a lot of bigger media outlets saying that represents all of Star Trek fans, and I refuse to believe that represents all of Star Trek fans, because it would be weird if fans of a show that's based on diversity would suddenly be against, like, oh no, there's all the characters are of different races and nationalities. That's really different. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Also, on the flip side of that, there are some people going like, I'm so glad there's finally an Asian captain. Now Asians are finally represented. Even though Asians have been represented in Star Trek before, and I know you could probably say like, oh, well, they've never been in a place of authority. Well, that's not true. There were Asian admirals in Next Generation. I just think it's kind of silly, because this show is all about being human, and despite having different backgrounds and all that, we're still human. And to say that you couldn't relate to Star Trek until someone who looked somewhat like you was in a movie or was in the show. I don't know. I think it's just as ignorant as the morons complaining about there's not enough white characters in the show. I think it's just as silly. To wrap this thing up, let's say I just want to say I'm cautiously optimistic. I really hope I like it, and I'm going to be watching it opening the day it comes out, and I really hope I like it, and I'm going to watch it all the way. I'm going to watch all 15 episodes, and I really want to like it. I don't want it to be, another J.J. Abrams thing where I'm like, well, I don't like it, but I appreciate that it brought fans in. No, I want to like it. I want to enjoy it. I don't mind having some problems with it. I have problems with every Star Trek show, but for the most part, with the exception of Enterprise, I feel like the good stuff in it outweighs the bad stuff, and I hope I feel the same way about this. I'm cautiously optimistic, but if the show sucks, I won't be shocked, and if the show's great, I won't be going, I told you so. I don't know. I hope I like it, and I hope you guys do too. Just try to keep those knee-jerk reactions to a minimum. Don't be like, oh, it's gonna suck. Oh, it's gonna rock. Because if the show does suck and everyone's like, oh, screw the haters, the show's gonna be great, you can actually, I think you can make the show worse because the show will keep on doing bad stuff, and it'll never get better. And if you knee-jerk just hating on it and the show ends up being awesome, you can get it canceled. And there's already enough cards stacked against it with it being on CBS All Access. So I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry for rambling on. I tried to keep this under 20 minutes and it looks like I failed, but this is a lot more focused than my first attempt and my second attempt. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. I will try to get some non-rambly vlog videos done very soon. Bye.